Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Teach Them Diligently podcast. I am your host, Leslie Nunnery, and I am so glad that you've chosen to hang out with me today. I want to tell you a story today, and it's a story that we don't tell a lot. We haven't told for a very long time in its entirety, and honestly, we really should. And that is where Teach Them Diligently came from, how God moved our family along these different stages. And why we do what we do, why we do it the way that we do it. What's the point of all of this? And I just feel like you guys need to hear that from me directly. So if you'll bear with me, I want to go back in time to the fall of 2009. And I promise I'll skate through and just give you the highlights of who we are and what we are. Because I really, really want you to join us. And I really, really believe that that it's important what we're doing. And so I want to tell you why. Back in the fall of 2009, we did have four children. Lila, who is our now junior in high school, was 3. So, they were little. My kids were little at that point. And they were in a fantastic Christian school. They were actually where we had always wanted them to be. I was very involved. I was room mom, doing all this stuff. David had a fantastic job. It was pretty amazing the way that God had positioned our young family. We were able to be involved in a lot of different things. We were growing. God was really working in us, and we were so very grateful. It truly seemed like everything was right in the world until about October of 2009. The Lord started really impressing on my heart that my time with my children was very, very short. And that if I wanted to pass on my faith, if I wanted to pass on everything that was important to me, if I wanted to invest in them the way that I was called to, that I needed to take advantage of every moment of every day to do that. Because how could I disciple effectively if I was not with my kids all the time? And I jokingly say a lot that I prayed about it for a while, that it was really just arguing with the Lord. But the truth of the matter is, I did not want to homeschool. No part of me wanted to homeschool. I I was not quickly or readily obedient on that. I thought that it was just one of those things, a fleeting fancy that I had kind of gotten in my head, and um, I really just thought that this was something that would pass. And so I kept, yes, I was praying about it, but you guys know when you're kind of praying about it, but not really submitting in your prayers to it. So I did that honestly for probably a month and a half, maybe 2 months. Just when it would come into my head, I would pray, Lord, lead me, but not really, really meaning it. And then I came up with the thought somehow that, what this really is just God testing me, because I need to bring this to David, and then David's going to shut it right down, and he's going to tell me that this is just a silly idea. And so my act of obedience to God is to give it to David, and so then let David deal with it. um and so I did. That's what I did. And I was shocked when his reaction to me was that when he looked around and thought about the kids that he wanted our kids to be close to, and when he thought about the time that we spend with our kids, he actually noticed that the kids that we wanted our kids to really hang out with and be close to were all homeschooled. And all of our objectives for our family actually lined up better with homeschooling. And so, yeah, I think that this is what God is calling us to do. Um, that was not the response I was looking for. But we prayed about it together for just a day or so, because we knew at that point that that was God's plan for our family. And so about December of 2009, we decided, yes, this is our next step of obedience. We told the kids about it. They were thrilled. We were shocked. We thought that they would, go kicking and screaming. They wanted to start right away. I was still so insecure and felt so ill-equipped, and I was scared to death of what God was calling me to do, that I didn't start in the spring semester like they wanted me to. I waited until the fall of 2010, and that's when we actually started homeschooling. My oldest was in fourth grade at the time. My youngest was like 3.5 or so, four, not quite four, when we started. So she wasn't doing anything technically school wise at that point. So we started in the fall of 2010. I tell my story in the Heart School book of all the things I did wrong. That's not the point of this. But I did do everything wrong that you can think of. The point of this is, in the winter or fall of 2010, at that point, not only was David working in a sports marketing capacity, he had a great job. He was vice president of a sports marketing company. He did all of the promotions and marketing around college athletics with a number of large universities. And then he was also over all of the print products for like the NCAA tournament. So right now going on is March Madness. He was over all of that as far as the print product. And all kinds of stuff, just really fun, cool jobs. We had boys. We got to go to all these ball games. It was super fun. But at the same time, he was volunteering as president of a mission agency that was all about using business and using the platform that we have in the business world as a conduit to get the gospel out. So using all of these things, whether you have, whatever kind of business it is, recognizing that that is your platform to serve God and to enrich lives and to get the gospel out. So that's what he was doing part-time, but it really became apparent to him that he needed to focus more on the ministry side and less on the sports marketing side. And so in the winter of 2011, like early year 2011, David really felt the call to resign at his job to take the leap of faith to go full-time in the ministry. But the thing about business missions is you don't go out and raise support for it. You are self-supporting by description, by definition, right? So we had to come up with something that we could do to support our family so that we could do the business missions, actually do it, and then also talk about it, propagate it, promote the ideas and the concepts. So we really started praying about that. In the spring of 2011, I went to my first ever homeschool event, and it was all the emotions that you guys feel: overwhelming, big, exciting, so cool. I can't wait to show you. I felt all of that. I came home. I was like, this is so neat. And then like a week or two later, something happened at a homeschool event that was really, really devastating for me. This was back when, Facebook and everything was organic. So all of it was more authentic than it is now. And a decision was made, and there was a disagreement between two high profile people at this homeschool event. And the comments that I was reading on social media at that time, they weren't going against homeschooling. They weren't going against really even these two parties so much. This was the world saying, this is what Christians act like. They were going against Christ. And I was just devastated as I read these comments going through, and they weren't wrong. This was handled horrifically. It was so, so bad. So I am reading that, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, Lord, we could do this. We have the stuff in our hands to actually do something with this. Because I had been in PR and promotions at a TV station and a newspaper. I had been an advertising director. So God had given me a lot of skills. David had a lot of skills. We had in our hand the ability to do something. But I also would never have said that out loud. David came in as I'm sitting there literally sobbing at the computer. My heart is breaking. And he was like, well, we should just start one. And I was like, well, wait, what? And so honestly, in that moment was when we started praying about what would this be? And it was decided that if we are going to do this, and it was only, just so you know, it was a 1-year thing. We were just signing up for 1 year, but it was going to be that it was going to close the gap. It would give us something to do while we could figure out a long-term business to support our business's missions efforts. But what we wanted to do was actually help focus people through an event on the primary reason that Christians should be homeschooling, and that is discipleship. That is bringing your children to Jesus. And all around everything that we heard at that time, homeschooling was starting to get a lot of traction. A lot of people were talking about it, but it had almost become like a cult in and of its own, in and of itself. Homeschooling was, in the way people were talking, almost replacing the gospel. It was like, I'm going to convert them to homeschooling, or, like their whole lives revolved around homeschooling. And we're like, no, no, no. You homeschool because it is a tool for discipling your kids. And so we were young. We had just started, like, literally, this is the end of our first year of homeschooling. So we know squat about homeschooling at this point. But we did know why God called us to do it. And we do know, or did know, that that is really, truly at its core why all Christians should be doing it. Homeschooling is the best tool that you will ever find for discipling your kids. You have great conversations with them. You have much opportunity. You're learning and growing. Plus, it helps strengthen relationships. So many awesome things. So we decided that the next year we would do an event right here by our house in Spartanburg, South Carolina, that would celebrate discipleship in home education. And as we were driving to a family vacation with my sister and her family and my mom and dad. We were all going down to Florida. And my older kids actually rode with my mom and dad because they always wanted to. And so we just had Lila, who was asleep in the back seat. So we had time to talk. And so we're playing around with these ideas. What should it be called? And I was just like, well, we should go with Deuteronomy 6, teach them diligently, because that's what we're doing. We are teaching them diligently as we walk, as we talk. And, we just started walking through this and brainstorming and teach them diligently stuck. And so at that moment, under this mission board and mission agency, and to try to support that effort and everything, Teach Them Diligently was born. In the spring of 2012, we had our first event in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And this was incredible because, first of all, who's heard of Spartanburg, South Carolina? Like, nobody that isn't from around here. But God brought into that event 1,500 families from 38 different states and 4 countries outside of the US. We are not that smart. We could not do that. We could not reach that many people. And it was unbelievable to see what God did there. The environment, the joy of coming together, the focus on Christ. And actually, I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but it was unreal to see all of these different people from different backgrounds, different places, different worship styles, different everything. But we came together for 2.5 days with no conflicts because we were focusing on Jesus Christ and on his call on our lives within our families. And that is such a unifying thing. And it was unbelievable. So we had this event. It was tight. I was scared to death that the fire marshal was going to come. We joke all the time. My then 4-year-old Lila, oh, bless her heart, it was constantly, we had the little walkie-talkies that we all had at that time. And I would hear all the time, do you have Lila? Does anybody have Lila? Where's Lila? And so I still get texts from time to time from some of our friends from those days. But it was cool. It was amazing. What God did was amazing. After that one event that we were going to do, we got together with the team of people that we were working with and sat at our dining room table and recounted the testimonies that we had heard, lives that were changed. The people were calling it revival, which is what we had prayed. And yet we were blown away by the fact that God was answering it. We were recounting all of these amazing testimonies that we had been given, and we ran around the table. Should we do this again? Is this something that we should continue? And without exception, everyone said, yes, God is in this. We need to keep moving forward. And so we vowed to do so. We decided to have 3 events in 2013 because it's really hard to just have one and actually be able to sustain an event. It's expensive to produce, you guys. So we were going to do 3 in 2013. And then we made a huge misstep. Now, we, like I said, we were young, we were green, we were excited about what we were doing. There was a huge level of foolish in there, but we bit off so much more than we could chew. And we decided that not only were we going to do 3 main events in 2013, I think it was 3, maybe it was, I think it was 3 main events in 2013, but we were going to do 10 more 1-day events. And we had this idea and it was so cool. And it crashed and burned so bad. It was devastating. And there is no reason at all that we should have survived as an organization. And in some ways, even as a family, the stress was pretty intense. After the summer of 2013, we amassed a huge amount of debt that was very, very difficult. We hurt a lot of people's feelings, and we hurt a lot of relationships, and it was so dark and so difficult. But as the Lord often does, he used that very dark and difficult in a myriad of ways in our lives. But one was, we now were saddled with all this debt. There was no stopping. We had to move forward to try to get out of this mess that we had made. If we were to default, we were actually defaulting on a lot of people that we cared about. And that would have really, really been a mar on the name of Jesus. And we were not willing at all to do that. So, so we marched on, and we have marched on ever since. And God has kept us afloat when there is no logical reason for it. He has met needs when there was no way it would happen. He has brought thousands and thousands and thousands of families to teach them diligently, and has given us the opportunity to serve them when we didn't deserve it, and when we had done everything in the early days to really blow it. And I am so grateful. And now we're in 2024, and we have had so many events, and we have gotten to talk to so many families, and we have heard so many testimonies of what God has done. And that is really what I wanted to share with you today. That is the story of how all of this came to be, and how good God is to even take our failures, as massive and horrible as they were, and still allow us by providing and keeping us going. And when I say providing, it was often daily bread. It was more often than not, I don't know how we make it through tomorrow, but God, we trust you, and we will continue to follow you if you will continue to open the next door and to provide for the next day. And through all of that, God kept our family intact. He actually strengthened it. Through all of that, we were able to take all of the provisions. You know, I'm reading in the Bible recap right now with a bunch of Teach Them Diligently 365 members. And we just read recently about the children of Israel pulling out those stones of remembrance as they passed through the Jordan into the promised land. We were able to share with our kids so many stones of remembrance and let them know how God was working, and to engage them in the mission. That was all part of God making them into the young men and women that they are today, who have a faith that is their own and is strong. And they know now that they are launching out on their own that they can trust God, because they have seen him be so faithful, even though they've also seen us struggle. And that is amazing. An amazing opportunity for discipleship. So I am so, so grateful for the way that God has used Teach Them Diligently in our own family, and in the many other families that he has allowed us to serve. But I want to tell you now why you need to be there, why I beg you, I urge you to move heaven and earth to join us in Pigeon Forge or Branson this year. If you absolutely cannot, join us and Teach Them Diligently 365, because that will be incredibly beneficial for you as well. Doing both is the best. But first of all, Teach Them Diligently exists not to propagate homeschooling. I think homeschooling is awesome. I am nearing the end of a 15-year journey in homeschooling. My youngest will be a senior next year. So I am all in on homeschooling. I think it is absolutely the best way to educate your children and the best thing that you can do for your family. All in. But that is not my mission. I will never be an evangelist for homeschooling. I will, however, be an evangelist for following what God has told you as parents to do within your family, because that will strengthen your family. That will help you disciple and shepherd the hearts of your kids. That is why Teach Them Diligently is here. We are here to strengthen families. We are here to focus on the gospel and focus you on the gospel, what Christ has done for you and what that means within your family. We want to equip you to do that day in and day out. We want you to see the relevance of the work that God has called you to do right there within the four walls of your home, and how the multiplication of that outside within your community, your church, your business, whatever it is, and then your kids launching out, your impact can be massive. We are here to strengthen and equip you to do that best. We are here, Teach Them Diligently is here to mobilize some of the best people on the planet. We started, or one of the conversations is back in 2010, 2011, as we were first starting this, was homeschooling families are largely entrepreneurial. This is a great group to mobilize for them to see how their work, both in their home and in their workplace and in their communities, is their platform. That is your mission field. Your home is your Jerusalem. All these other things are your Judea, Samaria, the uttermost parts of the earth. We want to mobilize the best people on the planet, which we believe are Christian homeschool families. You guys are so awesome and right there already. We want to help you do what God has called you to do better. We want to equip you. We want to give you the tools and the insights to follow God's plan for your life. And we want to give you the confidence to make decisions that are totally countercultural. All of these things you're going to get at a Teach Them Diligently event and through the year in Teach Them Diligently 365. And hopefully you see it in the podcast, in our emails, and so on. That is our heart for your family. Teach Them Diligently is truly unique. Everybody that has been there says so. We have I even mentioned this back when I was talking about Spartanburg. If you lift up Jesus Christ, if you all of these other differences, all of these things that separate us, that we argue about all the time as believers, goes away. Lifting up Jesus Christ, recognizing his call on our lives, that makes a huge, huge difference. One of the things that is so grievous to me and to David right now is there are other groups, there are other cults and organizations that are targeting our families, meaning Christian homeschool families, in a very, very strong way. And they are so well organized and well funded. And as Christians, we are all over the place and we are fighting each other rather than actually lifting up Jesus, finding the things that we have in common and celebrating those and getting together, mobilized and moving forward for the mission that he has given us. That is our heart, is that together we can do so much more. And so we want to lift up Jesus, to let all of these other things fall by the wayside for at least 2.5 days so that you can be encouraged, you can be equipped. We want to focus you in on discipleship and on family relationships. We want to strengthen your marriage. We want to strengthen your relationship with your kids. We want to help you understand how homeschooling fits with the discipleship. How do you do this? What resources do you need? You can find all of that out in 2.5 days at Teach Them Diligently. It's really efficient, to be honest. We want to help you invest in what's really important. And you do. Honestly, you hear that all the time. See how you spend your money. That's going to show you what's important to you. Well, by investing on coming to an event, to a Teach Them Diligently event, you're investing in continuing education, in growing in your highest role on this planet, being a mom, being a dad, discipling your children, how that fits into the greater scheme. It's really important that you prioritize and you invest in these things. You can't just sit passively by, because the stakes are just too high. And so that is a key component of why we do what we do. Another thing that makes Teach Them Diligently unique or distinctive is we try to offer really great opportunities for every member of the family. We have unbelievable children's programming. In fact, this year I'm super excited. I think it's going to be better than ever. Um, as we have Davey Lou and his crew, they are doing all kinds of cool stuff. So we have a great children's program. We have a drama program and lots of additional classes for children. We have a teen program. All of that is for our younger ones. We have a men's breakfast to get dads together, praying, laughing, fellowshipping. Guys don't do that naturally, but it's so impactful when they do. We have a mom's night. We have all of this stuff. We have a family movie night this year with there's just all kinds of stuff for every member of the family. You can enjoy Teach Them Diligently that way. We are in markets where it's like Family Vacation Central, Pigeon Forge in Branson, Missouri, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, Branson, Missouri. So it's a great time to come as a family. But a lot of times you're going to find that coming as a couple is even more impactful, because for 2.5 days, you're not mom and dad. You're able to just be together, to learn and grow together, to fellowship together, to love on each other, to make sure you're of the same mind together. But however you choose to come, just come. I cannot overstate how important it is for your family that you invest in an event like Teach Them Diligently. God will do mighty things, I promise. And so, with every part of me, I invite you to join us this year, May 2nd through the 4th in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. We have an incredible lineup there. May 16th through 18th, we'll be in Branson, Missouri. Again, incredible lineup. We have worship before our keynotes. Have you ever been in a room with 4,000 people singing praise to God at once? It's amazing. There's no other way to say it. Come for the worship, come for the laughter, come for the fellowship, come for the encouragement, come to learn, come to grow, come to get new ideas, come to get excited about what God has called you to do again. Just come. Again, I invite you to come and see us May 2nd through 4th in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, May 16th through 18th in Branson, Missouri. There is a great lineup. We have about 150 speaking sessions that you can choose from at both of them. The schedule is up. We have great speakers. There are thousands of resources that you can touch and feel and investigate all while you're right there. It's a great time for your family. For many who have come for years, like there are families that have been to every single event that we have done, or at least one a year since 2011. Why do they keep coming back? Because they have recognized the value that Teach Them Diligently has to their families. And now they're old like us. So they're starting to turn around and invest in younger families. Because they're not at the stage of life where they're needing the new ideas and such. They're at the stage of life where they can mentor others. And you find that over and over and over again. I get emails regularly from people who are like, all my kids are graduated. I just want to come and be. Can I just come and be? Is that weird? No, come and be. Come to the 365 booth and mentor families, talk to women. This is going to be great. We're going to do this together. And I don't want you to miss it. So join us this year for Teach Them Diligently. Make it happen. You will be amazed at how once you take that step of faith, you decide you're going to come, God will move mountains to make it happen. Go to teachthemdiligently.net/events. You can learn so much more. I'm telling you, you're going to be blown away by the speakers. The workshop schedule is going to be so exciting. You can bundle your ticket with a 365 membership so that you can get all of the recordings through all of the years at your fingertips, available on demand, plus have access to kind of a community like you feel on site at Teach Them Diligently all year long through the app and meetups and retreats and stuff that we do. So your family really will benefit from this. So I invite you to join us. We talk all the time about how the Great Commission starts right there at home. Your home is your Jerusalem. We want to strengthen you to do what God has called you right there in your home, and then mobilize you to take that out and be impactful in Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of your earth through your community, your church, your workplace, and whatever other doors God opens for you in the days ahead. That is my invitation for you. That is my story. I appreciate your hanging out with me today and listening to it. And I pray to God that I get to see you at Teach Them Diligently this year. Again, go to teachthemdiligently.net/events and get your tickets today. I look forward to seeing you very soon.